Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Well, on HamiltonRadio.net, I'm your host, John. Before anything, I want to give a shout out to Joe Corriere of The Point After on Cul-de-sac Night and making this show possible. And while we're on the show, for being the first sponsor of this show, Big Hits is Me Tuesdays from 5 to 6. If you are a football fan, he needs no receiver for the Bills during their 4 years. And Aurora University.
I'm doing great, John. How about you?
I'm doing cool. The first thing that is your books right into it, interview. So is that the Crosby? So is how did you guys with each other and possibility?
It came about from a friend of mine after a book on my life story, because my story's Chris fell.
Yeah.
And in the '89 draft, all at the combine in 1989, Deion Sanders tying it, and then it just turned.
Yeah.
And so I wrote Denise did a much better job than the original. She redid it just recently with 6 rings from nowhere, and they have 6 championship rings.
NFC
6 championship rings.
Championship.
Yep. 4 NFC or AFC and 2 NFC and 1 all. And so from that, we wrote the book just about my life story, and people can get it at donbeebe.com is the best way to do it.
And definitely sent an article from Dave. He published it in late 2012 in Illinois University. 20 pounds at the camp. Eventually dropped out to work with your brother-in-law. He's the one who ended up trying out for the Bears in May 1986. What exactly?
Well, what instruction guys talk, right? Well, and I was 3 years, and he started talking, and it's just kind of stupid. And I'll never forget it was him, and he owned a company called. What really kind of led me to that was I was putting on the last piece of siding in the wind.
Oh, boy.
I mean, it was a
yeah.
And after I got going basically to the ladder and getting down, I'm done. I can't and do this whole process.
Yeah.
And I only played 2 Western Illinois and 1 at a really state in the middle of Nebraska. I was first pick in the 1989 draft. And that's how crazy of a story it was. But, yeah, Bob tried to talk me. Grew up a Bear fan. They just won May of 1986.
That football team. Those were a bunch of bad brothers on that. But I can.
Yes, they were.
Yeah,
yes,
I
they
can.
Were.
The most is the fridge.
Oh
yeah.
I'll always and just a real great guy too.
You were a Bears fan growing up.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Relate to getting with. Football stories in high school. PS for about a year. Yeah, so you ended up getting a call from the Western Illinois Community College. Then you came back at Western in the spring of '80.
Yeah.
The reason why is because you went to the gym one bunch of Leathernecks working outs, and you talked and ran a day. And I remember reading said if that's the one time I would just to see the look on that.
Yeah.
Which I could only.
It's there's a couple things. Too is. Before football, my NFL, and people ask how it was possible, was I went to Western Illinois because I was instruction, my eligibility class.
Yeah.
So when I went in the NCAA math class one day, and I walked and it was all going to be seniors, which I looked up, coach asked him, and I said, man, I'm going to be a senior. He goes, oh, Don, he says, man, we went and asked this Dallas Scout and the guys. So I was in sandals.
Yeah.
And so, without going to nature, I just flipped off my sand too, and that was the first time I ever. And I didn't even know if it was good. The scout looked at me, and he's 21 years. I've never timed anybody, alone barefoot.
Yeah.
Started. Even better story than fast forward now 2 years. That year was out of LGI school called Nebraska, and I went out a great year, and then got invited to the combine years in college football. Highlighted in it, right?
Yeah.
Bill Giles timed me in the 40 that I ran, but it must have been pretty good. He said, Don, I got to get you invited, but I'm going to give him my highest record.
Yeah.
Which is. I got invited, but an agent, I didn't even know what an agent was, so naive. Ron was my old A school.
Oh, boy.
Okay, track spikes. Right sole of my right way, so when I walked, it flopped. So it became a story during that time, and it's still, what in the heck was running that 4.25, the sole on my shoe? So it became quite hysterical. That's just the kind of story it is, and that rings from nowhere.
I can noise, too, like when you
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. The next talk to you about what trained for speed was fast because of fast time in itself. A lot of that there. So were you just like now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So bring up a good point because and we'll probably talk about this off the speed that trains athletes. So part of this 20 years ago, people, oh come on, you can't. Well, what really trained were 4.3 or 4.2 phonetics.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just I always use myself as in for speed. I would never And I probably would have never to take an 8th grade or all the way to a pro athlete, 3/10 of a second off of a kid to a 4 or 5 or like 2. Kids willing to rule. It can make the world of difference. I always tell kids, yes, speed.
Yeah.
Wherever you make you faster.
Yeah, and a 1/10 of a second, 2 sound like a lot, but when you really make a difference, and when you're out, it can really make the difference of whether.
No, John, and it's not just so much speed. I mean, we're talking about cuts, your quickness, you becomes more explosive. The game keeps evolving. And girl is bigger, faster, and stronger.
I think the explosive, because you can field, but if you don't have that cutting back when you're running, you're not going to make plays.
Yeah, without question. His son, as an example, Chad, Minnesota Vikings now. He's not he's not a free guy, okay, but extremely explosive. It's made his career. I would explosive athlete than a fast. They can do both. Great athlete.
Yeah, no, make plays when you have that explosive.
Yep.
But I wanted to talk about in the NFL for 9 years, receptions, have 23 touchdowns. Me, obviously, the most were Super Bowls, but you did 25 due to an.
The valve started that year. My tibia and I have screws that in there today.
Yeah. Advice to players that are trying, or any injury.
Well, you only have 2 options, or get you. Yeah. That's the only option. I've always been raised. I've raised my kids is, hey, get yourself off the mat, and just, if you don't, I know nothing. So you don't have a choice. Your leg, you're going to miss the Super Bowl stuff and everything of that nature, and there's no question about it. Here's another day, and I remember Chris Berman was. Next year came, and in that next year, I had 4 touchdowns. Yeah. And Berman says for all they were not touchdowns, so it was kind of a cool comeback like that. But guys,
definitely,
especially with say.
All right, and I was playing football in high school, so can I add the rehab process?
Rehab-wise, first of all, it's different. So if it's your shoulder, in this case, I broke my tib, and it just basically cut what happened, and cemented that inch rod in my tibia, and there's down by my ankle, healed and calcified. I pound that, get that scar tissue out, so I was ready. The key to out of there and getting that flexibility wherever that is are exactly what typically when they get they're calcified thicker, and then ligament damage and stuff will already come over, but that flexibility back.
Like a hard thing to do, thing that I've ever really mom who had a few years back, want to know if it's through too.
Painful, it's hard. You just have to keep your mind on the end. Well, in my case, a Super Bowl and continue my career. Time to feel sorry for yourself, not get up that morning, and I couldn't wait till they gave me. I remember doing one-legged jerked it to death. Season came around, man. I was 100%.
Yeah. Would you say what's the important thing when you're doing the drill, just over and over?
Yeah. Again, it depends. The thing is you got to get that scar tissue back. If you lose that, when you lose range of motion, lose speed. And
gotcha. I do have to 5 Super Bowls you played were, and I felt like the post is the recovered against the Cowboys. Why is because out, lean zone celebrated a little, and then you smacked on the yard line, and it ended up being a touchdown. I know you didn't really during, after perspective on it. Bill, were praising you just point in the game. Later, what think about that play? Do you use inspiration? Well,
as a coach, still today, we're sitting here on my desk right now today, somebody, at least sometimes multiple, note or talking about the Leon Leps for 26 years. Wow. When I got back to being big boxes of fan mail letters, everything, I was getting way more, which I let them know about. But it was just something that was so many people, and I started reading these, probably 30 or 40 of them in this little box, and but the ones that really meant the most.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just these letters talking about son and thank you so much. I've been trying to tell my comments like that, and the funny thing about it, John, is an hour before the game, and I was just praying this guy, and I was just praying to fight your name today instead of mine. My prayer, and I really felt so good when I was wild gear on that I really thought I was going to win it with no J.J. Jefferson to win the game. Yeah, that's what gave me the Leon Lett play. Yeah. Here's the thing about it: that touchdown when I stand on speaking, and I would have talked about known Don. Yeah, it would have been great to hear them really relate to that. That's in that crowd, he can relate to the Leon Lett opportunity to never give up. 10 years old on their grandmother or family member or their marriage, and that's why it's become.
I think the play that reminds just from me. Well, this was my freshman year. We were playing a high school called West, and we were getting blown in a shutout. So they let me defensive series, and just like mad that this was our only loss of this. So cut straight through the lineman in front of me because I at the time, and I just wrapped the and spun him around, pulling him, slamming to the ground with. Remember that happening? I was so mad. What I want to ask, have a feeling of, I'm just saying, with me, I was just going through your head at that time.
I don't know so much if it was. I suppose it could be some. I was just and my mom and dad had his youth.
Yeah.
I don't think actually in the course of a game you are. I mean, now in the play I was about 30 over out, and I just saw the ball pick. At that point in time is revealed. Either you or you don't. And stand there, well, I didn't know any better. And I always tell kids, I said, upright, you're going to increase right call. And we're talking about sports. But you give that kid the call because that's just it. That's not something, Because if I'd have thought about it for just a second, play.
Yeah. Two in my own head of football players stand. He just reacts when you play, when the ball are just trying to play, when you're in the play. And I'm right in assuming that way.
I believe you should always say that he practiced something during the course of the character.
Yeah.
About it. See, a minute, 2 minutes. Typically, most.
Yeah.
Okay. Something that's really your.
All right. I do for a second. Super Bowl was against Skins, and watching stuff as a kid. Thurman Thomas at the start of the first two plays. It was flopping as you were at and laugh at all, or
had no bearing on the game whatsoever. I know. I mean, what happened was the national anthem and his crew actually moved them their way to the whole entourage to get them sung and find it. 5 minutes game. It was no big deal. It didn't affect that game at all.
It was just wondering if that on and laughed at.
Well, we don't even make fun of Thurman now when because he's so for your helmet again out there. In common speech with us. That had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. That's something to do, and I would lose my own head. I can't even. Friends over here just shaking her head.
Yeah.
That's something you. All right. I do want to, with you about this game. This is a game that I feel the same year you guys got boys. You were also come back in NFL history to the Houston Oilers into the third quarter 3, and you got game 41-3. I want to know what the line was when 5-3. I forget who the touchdown, but oh yeah. And made that field goal and over. Dynamic was on both times.
Well, we can even predate that even because my roommate was Frank Reich, 6 years there, and waking up, and it was a real morning, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't find him. He wasn't in the room. He couldn't find him. So his S10 Blazers running, and he's like, what in the heck is he doing? The window said, dude, what are you doing? He said, don't worry about it. He said, I'll be right a song. I'm about to play in a playoff game here and find out later, words down, in Christ alone, the song that Michael, made that year. And Frank had been listening to all the significance of what this song would become on him down. So all game, well, it's crazy. Hey, just keep, and all that stuff. And so, okay, this is going to make some plays and also touchdown, in a 35-3 sideline. But Frank, I'm going, guys, 35, we can do this. Just keep me, shut up, Frank, but basically, just completely didn't see anything like this before. Just not even close. We drive down, get the onside kick, and then boom, we touchdown. And then next thing you know, 5-17 here, middle of boom, we get another one. Now it's 30. We're going to do this. The inspiration of Frank. So long story, we win it. Going down to the rushing us. Stop. Wait a minute. Grabs the words of that song, goes watching TV. He says, questions, I need the words. I sung in Christ alone. It was, it was just so inspiring. The inside story.
Yeah. Was he trying to, give for the game?
Yes, and through his faith, just writing these words down, emulated, transpired during the course, basically.
Yeah. All right, you did pause after the 4, spent a season with them. And then 1990 season with the Panthers, in 96. Super Bowl ring in Super Bowl. I want to know what that feeling was.
And I was just talking to recruits at the college that I'm any athlete can have. In the championship game to go to the big example. In high school, semifinal game to go to win the championship to go to the Super Bowl. We're going. Just more out of it as a coach and a player, go to the big show. Okay? And believe me, I was on the field behind Favre that last 10 the clock ticked down, and I'm thinking, win this crazy thing. I've already lost to win this thing. And you get in the locker the next morning, you're like, now what? You're looking for the next thing, and you're trying the next goal, and now they're it. So anticlimactic, don't get me wrong, gratifying, different feeling than the championship.
Gotcha. Kind of left the year after that, or nothing there?
I played one more year at the Super Bowl 32 in Denver, and that's when Elway won his. I mean, I just it wasn't so much of that. Believe me, winning a Super Bowl, there's nothing like it. those feelings to somebody because I've had other great moments. Those are great moments too. Those are, let's say. And I said that is I won, Coach. I've won state champion. More gratification as a bunch of innocent kids than I will. People think, but yet it's true. Young innocent young boys, great. Winning the Super Bowl, did it as a player was just a little bit. I was unsure, but I'm doing it with a bunch of kids.
Others now do.
That's right.
All right, gotcha. Thing that I want to talk. You got a head coach for University November. So they were 5-4. What are some things want to work on? Help make.
Well, first thing is all better.
Yeah.
Okay, so season off or just train. If you want to be a champion, you got to work hard. It's got to be handed to you. So and then tried to bring in is that. Okay, listen, we're not here to just. It is a goal. A playoff game, even though that is. Ultimately, what do you want? This ultimate goal that you can ship.
Yeah.
Just like Clemson, you talk to Davos Sweeney process, to win, and then write down the whole thing. And ultimately, the goal is to win a national championship. And I really, his quote, and I think obviously time, it starts before you could ever become a thought. Okay, implementing that thought. Let's go win the ultimate. And achieve to that point. High school, when I took Aurora Christian High School, I took that over in 2004. They had 17.
Yeah.
And I told those 17 that one day this school's going to win this with a thought. As they went to the playoffs every year, quarters, 5 times, 7 times going to state championships in Aurora history to ever win a state title with a thought. And I firmly believe Aurora really, really hard to achieve.
I'm not even going to lie. That took a little stir in my head when I heard.
Yeah.
7. That's crazy. All right, but back into Aurora University. You stepped down from Aurora Christian.
Well, I knew 10 years, and then my son went on, and I wanted to see him play, be the head coach anymore. So my brother was a coordinator. And then Chad went in, was going to be a ball, and my 2 year in college, and one was going to be a senior last year as a volleyball players, and so I actually stepped down because I didn't think it was fair to my kids, and my kids have always got it. So I stepped down as a coach, and I went to see my wife and thousands of miles on our kids play their last. And when I was going to get back into coaching, Rod Carey and I go over there possibly actually in January, or I was going to go down south in high school down there, university in my hometown. Just so I was like, wow, opportunity, and we talked about a short period of time, I think so, and every minute of it. I've been there. Can't wait for next 131 days left.
Oh, you just counted down.
I got it on a calendar.
I do want to speed a little bit. I've trained thousands of applications in 11 different.
Yep, we did. I've weaned myself away from sort of things now, and just the one that we have here in Aurora.
That makes sense. I saw some of the guys that has trained. The Dallas Cowboys, former Michael Turner of Kins, got Greg Philadelphia Eagles. I Philly guys on here because that's. But in 1998, you put it into ops. Did you think it was gonna?
At all. Probably the best guy I've ever trained is the DN with the Miami Dolphins. 6'4" and a half pounds, 4'5", 9'4". Guy's unbelievable. They were all but he was probably great. It started in '98 was our first class. 5 kids in it. The shoots, my partners. We thought we started a little slow, and we were seriously 20 grandfathers. The original sports performance in Chicago. There's a few other ones nationally area. Yeah. Now they're like every, and so we just turned into in blossoms. One, believe me, I didn't think it was going to be. Today, we probably put, but we've trained a lot of women, top level athletes, 10-year-olds. I do academies and volleyball academies, things that we do now. So speed has been around for a long, and I really football coach in college. I still train athletes. We still do our football academy now for our spring football academy. We love training kids.
Yeah, no, you've got a bunch of different the homepage athletes. You got guys in. I think you even had a on here.
Yeah.
All right, but you have to have different train them in different ways.
Yeah. So our philosophy is different. I'm not even team. I'm not going to train libero or elect. Every sport's different. So we are what their weaknesses are, and then we.
Okay.
And then I do what we call pro elite. Not just like I trained my. Not easy. And I tell them going in, kid or a college athlete, to give me only take 9 yourself, and it's not in this ain't going to be easy. So if you got a weak stomach or ready for this level of training, then.
Yeah.
But boy, they get the.
Yeah, no, and we're going to be easy. Hardest things that the high school football coach McKenna, before school, I think 6 in the morning, do sprints, circuits, workout that was when we had helmets on. We went weight room doing different exercises, 30-second rest. After that, on the field, I didn't even want to get up for class, but I remember workouts like that was some of the hardest stuff I've ever.
Yeah, but that's how you get better. Not so much just physically, it's mental. Eventually when you're athletic and you go into the workforce, employee or employer, it's tough. Force is tough, and by a lot of big businesses like it's because put a lot of time they became that they'll probably do the same. And a lot of them successful business people.
All right, but real quick before you let the next show get on with Dudley, they're on air next. But I do about Super Bowl. We got the Patriots and got in from fantastic game. Who do you think is going to win?
I mean, how do you bet against this? This guy's unbelievable. I mean, whether you like him or not, I don't think point that the guy's the greatest.
Honestly, at this point, I game-winning drive, even when it counts, the guy.
Yeah, and not only that, most impressive about the whole week, Rams and the toughest venue. I mean, New Orleans and even on the TV, the whole game.
Yeah,
like it didn't even faze them. Impressive.
Yeah, and those guys are different. Chiefs and the Saints teams are just different animals, especially Drew Brees.
Well, we played Kansas City. It was the hardest Kansas City. Forget it. And Derek Thomas had 6. Our left tackle couldn't hear. Okay, because we couldn't block him out. But the Rams win. Okay.
Yeah, that's
if I was a betting man, I wouldn't be betting against Tom. Let's
get it. But I think what they're getting Aaron Donald and down the middle on him, especially when you got him in that fourth rush that throws it. If you're gonna have.
It's the only way that the Patriots in the past is you Tom out of the middle. They'll kill you.
Yeah, because he's not a moment. Definitely. I think the Rams though and you think last year with the Eagles and the Patriots, what really made that was an offensive shootout, that defensive play at the end. Really, I think wrapped the game up for there was still 2 minutes on the clock. He still got the ball back. I think wrapped it up.
The guy's going to play in 9.
No, any other guy that's played in 9.
Yeah, 9 years. He's going to have 18
in 18
years.
Is there. He's in a Super Bowl. He's already got a ring on. He's for every finger on one hand.
You could forget about this best. You could argue the point player. You throw Gretzky clearly.
I think you got to throw him. Gretzky's like you mentioned the Mike. I think he's up there.
You could say LeBron. There's no argument with Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Believe me, if I'm Michael Jordan, but people could argue in Tom.
Point there. So the Patriots.
If I'm a betting man, yes.
All right. I think I'm the Rams and make this fun. A team that we're
okay.
All right. But I gotta let you go on air. I really appreciate one more thing before. This is Don Beebe, Aurora University NFL wide receiver. This is Don Beebe, and you are listening to Hamilton Radio. Can I just get that?
When?
To it on Hamilton Radio.
Hamilton Radio. Okay. Right. This is the football coach. Hi.
One more. All right.
Hang on a second. I'm gonna just drop mine.
All right. Beebe, Aurora University.
You can't even do it.
Holy sh! All right. This is University football coach, and you are able on Hamilton Radio. Yeah.
Football coach, Aurora University on Hamilton.
That's good enough. I can feel them for that one too. Like I just paused.
Do this, aren't you?
It's the station Gino, his dog and the guys. You're the only guy. Yeah, but I appreciate that, and I appreciate to have you back on. Hope so much, man.
All right,
All right, take care, man. Was he on? He was on. But all right, I didn't know, but since we're in quick, come on, Jelly and Max. This has been the Round Table. We'll be here on Hamilton Radio. Next week, being at 9:30, it'll be another just coming on now, so don't miss that.